Hey folks, this is Tony Day. Today I'm going to talk about this. Blackmagic Design released some information about a new camera. It's the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro 12K. Here's a 4.6K G2, $6,000, and wow, 12K for less than 10,000. So let's get into this because this is really interesting. So first of all, as you can tell, they're going to be hitting a different market than a lot of the other cameras. You see, this is a Supreme Prime, very expensive lens on this camera. They're trying to go for much, much higher end than some of their other cameras, like the pocket cameras, for example. So that's really important. You see that big 12K on there. Obviously, they're trying to market the crap out of that, which makes a whole lot of sense, considering it is a rare breed indeed. So let's kind of look at this. First of all, if you haven't already, see the Blackmagic Design release video because they kind of go over it. And I actually want to give a thank you to Blackmagic Design for making their releases a lot drier. I really love the way that Blackmagic Design does it because I appreciate the dry approach to it. So thank you guys for that. So it's a 12K. Holy crap. It's a Super 35 sensor. It's not large format. 14 stops of dynamic range. That is definitely going to be at the native ISO, which I believe is 800. Um, 80 megapixels per frame. Humongous. New color science. Blah, 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 blah. So let's look at this. You can shoot 60 FPS in 12K, crazy, 110 FPS in 8K, up to 220 FPS in 4K Super 16. So, I mean, a Super 16 crop of this camera is 4K. All right, just think about that. It has an interchangeable PL mount, which is important. Built-in ND filters, dual CFast and UHS-2 SD cards. Not sure when you're going to use that. Super speed USB-C expansion port, which is important, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Actually, you know what? For UHS-2, I'll maybe talk about that in a little bit, because that actually could be useful for a certain thing that it does. DaVinci Resolve Studio included, sure, but I'm pretty sure that if you're going to get this, you're not really worried about getting that for free. All right. Yes, extreme resolution is definitely right. It says all this other stuff like, perfect for feature films, episodic television, and immersive large format IMAX. I don't know about that. Well, this maybe yes, but episodic television, I'm not sure which ones they're talking about. Maybe if you're talking about very specific shots in television that needs visual effects work, then yes, but there's plenty of television shows that are only shooting in 4K because they have to. They can shoot lower resolution and they really don't care. The more important thing is really dynamic range more than resolution. So I'm not sure what they mean by this, but whatever. For feature films, maybe. I mean, not every feature film. Maybe super high-end feature films that are going to be like something that you need 8K for. And this is, well, 12K, but 8K was what was being used. And the actual importance of it is here. Incredible definition around objects makes it ideal for working with green screen and visual effects, including compositing, live action, and CGI. That is more what I think this super high resolution is going to help with. The higher resolution that you have on your camera with a similar codec is usually going to provide better keys around very detailed things like, hair and stuff like that. So that all makes sense. Super sampling at 12K means you get better color and resolution at 8K, but also smoothness that comes from making aliasing invisible. So I'll talk about the first thing. Better color, generally, yes, the oversampling does help with color. And it does help to actually fully resolve that 8K. So an 8K camera, that's a Bayer sensor especially, cannot really resolve 8K because of debayering. So by oversampling, you should be able to fully take advantage of 8K. So that is true. The big thing here is aliasing. Having zero aliasing in your footage is really nice. I've been searching for stuff like that for a long time. The Pocket 6K, actually, when it comes to aliasing, is really really good. The sensor in that camera, I mean, I've seen some really complex patterns that make even the higher end cameras get crazy with moire. And the 6K had like the cleanest rendering I'd seen for a while for a camera that's so cheap. But if you can have aliasing completely invisible in your footage, that's just wonderful. That is something that production houses have dealt with for a long time, which is aliasing. And usually you need an anti-aliasing filter. This camera does not seem to have one. The Ursa 4.6Ks, they tend to need like an AA filter for aliasing in certain situations. So even the Pocket 4K can help with if you have an AA filter attached to it, which is usually done by a third party. I haven't seen any that's done from BMD for those AA filters. Um, that actually does help very, very much with aliasing problems. So, not having to use an AA filter uh, and not having aliasing would be awesome. Cinematic Super 35 12K sensor. Yes, Super 35 is cinematic. This is the standard. Okay, Super 35 is the standard, not large format. Okay, at least currently. So this is fine. I know some people are going to be upset that it's not large format, but you know this is standard. Again, 12K, that's a lot of pixels to go into that. So we'll have to see what the results are in some footage that are not the Blackmagic design captures, just to see what happens with this. Shooting 12K, edit on a laptop. I'm not sure who's going to be editing 12K on a laptop, but I guess that's important for some people. Blackmagic Raw field. Now this is the thing here. Blackmagic Raw. Okay, you see this? Blackmagic Raw. This is probably the most important thing that they've done, at least in my opinion, recently with any of their products is Blackmagic Raw. It's a fantastic codec. I use it all the time and is the reason why I'm not really looking at any other cameras besides Blackmagic design cameras or any other camera that can shoot Blackmagic Raw. Because it is a fantastic codec that has a lot of flexibility in post and it's very quick to work with. I much prefer this over Cinema DNG or any other RAW that I've used. So, it's 12-bit. These the 12K images are going to be 80 megapixels, up to 60 FPS. And I was watching the release video, and they were able to have like I think it was 9 cameras simultaneously playing with Blackmagic Raw at I think it was Q5. I don't remember what uh, the bitrate was, but I mean 12K images playing simultaneously for a multicam edit is pretty awesome. So that's really helpful. You cannot do that. I've never been able to do that with Cinema DNG. So this is wonderful. The other thing that they didn't really talk a whole lot about was all the different compression rates. They've got here you're seeing 5.1, 8.1, 12.1. I'm not seeing 3.1 for some reason. I'm not sure what happened to that one, but they got 5.1, 8.1, 12.1, and 18.1. 18.1. That's a new one. So that's great. But more than that is actually the Q options. They're not showing it here, but they've got Q0 and Q5, which we had before, but they've added Q1 and Q3. I've been asking for this, the Q3, because I don't like Q5. I think it's just not enough detail for me. And Q0 was too heavy on the data. So I wanted something in the middle, and this is perfect. This is perfect. I love this. So thank you to Blackmagic Design for listening to people and giving us that. Um, it says you can shoot 12K, 8K to either CFast or UHS-2. I'm not sure how you're going to get uh, 12K onto UHS cards, but maybe I'm underestimating how this compression is going to help. So I know that they talked about how you can record to 2 cards simultaneously, and then it'll basically be for one file, and then you take that file and you throw it into Resolve. The files from both of the slots, from both the card slots, and it will essentially put it together into one sequence. Or if one of those cards fail, the one that didn't fail will have like half of the frames, so you have something. Maybe that's how they're getting away with this. It's just how they're, recording it to the cards. But people are going to have to test that out because I'm always wary of new technology when it comes to saving stuff. So I like, go into a card, nothing weird going on to ensure that my stuff gets saved properly. But who knows? It might work fine. Uh, yes, This stuff works really fast. If you use Blackmagic Raw before, it's very, very quick. And they showed that the 12K images they could play in sequence for editing on a laptop. So, and it was on an Apple laptop. So there you go. This is another big one that I think people need to pay attention to is this Generation 5 color science. Gen 4 has some issues. In my opinion, it makes some problems because I think their cameras are recording out of gamut. Um, but that's just my understanding. Have problems with reds, blues, and cyans in the Pocket 4K, and other cameras that they have suffer the same issues. And I'm hoping that Generation 5 color science solves the problem because it does say here um, delivers better color response for more pleasing skin tones. That's always subjective, but the better thing and the more objective thing, in my opinion, is better rendering of highly saturated colors such as neon signs, cartel lights, and high contrast scenes. This is what we need. Okay, we need when we pull this our files into post, we don't want to have to immediately deal with clipping issues or colors out of gamut that we have to go back and fix. I would like it if Gen 5 just made this, fixed. I don't want to have, oops, I don't want to have to go into red, wide gamut every time just to fix these color issues. And it also says that it's got a new curve, which should help with highlights. Highlight roll off, that is. So that's really nice. Um, full resolution at higher frame rates is right. 12K at 60p is pretty crazy. High bandwidth recording, there's going to be a lot of data. Just be aware of that. I mean, this is huge. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Look at these Q compressions, though. Okay, look at this. Okay, definitely check this out if you're interested. This is a kind of a misleading image, at least in my understanding. From my understanding, this body is supposed to be the same size as each other. It's just the guts and some of the external stuff might be different. So, you know, uh, this should not be bigger. My understanding is it's the same size. If I'm wrong, please tell me below that I'm wrong. Easy to use Blackmagic OS. There's all this stuff. So the thing that it doesn't talk about, which I want to discuss, let's see here. Um, so this here, you can shoot at all these different frame rates, which is all great. But the thing is, my understanding is that this camera is going to allow us to shoot in different sizes, 12K, 8K, 6K, 4K, with the full sensor. My understanding from the video, and please correct me if I'm wrong below, okay? My understanding from the video says that they designed this sensor to allow the resizing of these different resolutions for Blackmagic Raw to occur on the sensor. And they designed it in a specific way where it's going to retain as much detail as possible and not have the aliasing issues that you usually have to deal with when you kind of are line skipping or pixel binning or all those other things. Please correct me if I'm wrong below, or please explain more, because that is technology I'm very interested in. Because usually when you're talking about getting raw and you change the sizes here, you're cropping into the sensor to get those. That's really the only way to really do raw that way. Um, but Blackmagic Design has figured out how to give us the full width without these major issues from pixel binning, line skipping, all those things that happen when you shoot RAW. If you've ever shot like, a higher resolution camera, you use something like Magic Lantern, and it's like, or some other ways of getting RAW, and it's like a 20 megapixel image, but you're getting RAW that's full width at like 2K or 4K. You've probably noticed that there's aliasing issues. This is supposed to not have those problems. If that's true, and we can get like really clean 6K and 4K images out of this camera, it might even be like, even if you never use 12 and 8K, if you shoot 6K and 4K and it's really clean and you get that full dynamic range and there's no real issues, it looks, really good at these resolutions, this might be a really good 6K and 4K camera. I mean, even if you never use these, right? Like even if you never use those, if it's able to resize at the sensor in a way that doesn't have issues, man, this would be a great camera for that. Um, so Yeah, I mean that's what I'm seeing from here. That's my opinion. I have no idea how good it actually is because I've never used it and I haven't seen any footage other than what they've shot and given to us. So I'm actually looking forward to that. If you like this video, please hit a like. Please comment. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys next time.